Hello, party people. It's Pastor Leah Scholl from Wake Forest Baptist Church. So grateful to see you today. Today we're talking about lament. Now, lament is a powerful and passionate way to talk about things that are not so great. So I hope you'll join us and be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Sometimes there's no good way to talk about things except in poetry. I mean, words of love are so much better if they're said poetically, right? Words of power, like we say in marches, whose streets, our streets, are so much more powerful when they're poetic. It's like the chant we use so often, the people united will never be defeated. It's always so disappointing to me. I want it to say, the people united will never be divided, because it rhymes. Lament is one of those things that's better in poetry. Lament is a passionate expression of sorrow or grief. And our text today is certainly a lament. Even though the passage loses a bit in the English translation, you kind of lose the poetry there. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the deeds of power done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. Like I said, it's hard to get in the English translation how poetic these words are. They don't rhyme so much, but there is alliteration and repetition in the text. And there's this allusion to Sidon and Tyre, how bad it was for them and how much worse it will be for Chorazin and Bethsaida. It reminds me of a poem called Deer's Lament. Now, I'm going to put the entire poem in the notes, but I'm just going to try to read a little bit here. Now, mind you, it was originally in Old English, Middle English, I guess, and it was written sometime around 900 CE, the Common Era, or AD. It goes like this. Wayland endured the agony of exile, an indomitable smith racked by grief. He suffered countless sorrows. Indeed, such sorrows were his bosom companions in that frozen island dungeon where Nithad fettered him. So many strong but supple Sinnoh bands, binding the better man that passed away, this may also. Bed, O child, mourned her brother's deaths, bemoaning also her own sad state. Once she discovered herself with child, she knew nothing good could ever come of it. That passed away, this also may. You get the idea. After several more verses, we meet the poet, whose name is spelled D-E-O-R. Looks like Dior, but it's supposed to be pronounced deer. Perhaps to remind you of endearment or even of a deer, a noble and graceful beast. We have no historical record of who Deer was, but his antagonist in the stanza is named Horrenda, and we do know about him a little bit. He appears as Horant in a 13th century German epic poem. It was said that he sang so sweetly that birds fell silent at his song, and fish and animals in the woods fell motionless. So here's the final verse. If a man sits long enough, sorrowful and anxious, bereft of joy, his mind constantly darkening, Soon it seems to him that his troubles are limitless, that he must consider that the wise Lord often moves through the earth, granting some men honor, glory, and fame, but others only shame and hardship. This I can say for myself, that for a while I was the Hodeningen scope, that's poet, dear to my Lord. My name was dear. For many winters I held a fine office, faithfully serving a just king. But now Horinda, a man skillful in songs, has received the estate the protector of warriors had promised me. That passed away, this also may. Do you see what the lament does? It names the pain. In another translation of this text, the feelings words are so clear. The poet there uses the words, the tang of exile, hardship, care and longing, bitter cold, bad luck, duller ache, swollen with child, never be calm, never easy in mind, wrung out with sadness, sapped of delight, his soul darkened. That's the beauty of lament and the poetry of lament. Never once in these verses is anger mentioned, but you can understand that anger is there. But anger has a way of glossing over other feelings, overpowering them, unifying them in such a way that the feelings lose their power. Lament stays with the other feelings than anger. Even Jesus' lament over Chorazin, Bethsaida, and Capernaum is about sadness, lost hope, and disappointment, not really so much anger. So friends, for this week, I'd like for you to practice lament. For those of you unfamiliar with poetry, how about a haiku? A 3-little liner with 5 syllables in the first and last line and 7 syllables in the middle. And finding what you like to lament about, that's the easy part. What are you most angry about? What are you most sad about? It's not fair to ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So I have written a haiku about white supremacy. It goes like this. White folks created a system that's hard to beat, even with a stick. The second one I wrote goes like this. White supremacy won a close battle this week, but not forever. I want to talk about this last line in the Deer Lament. In the translation I read, it says, that passed away, this also may. In the original, the phrase in Latin is, in Old English, is Des oferedo, this is swameg. It's difficult to translate, but some scholars believe that this is similar to a phrase in the Latin Vulgate. In the Wisdom of Solomon, the Latin Vulgate is the translation of the Greek into Latin that the earliest church used. The book this is found in the Wisdom of Solomon, in a book found in the Catholic Bible. The Wisdom of Solomon is found in the Catholic Bible. The phrase in Latin is transierant omnia illa. In English, they translate it, all those things were passed away. And then another translator also translated that last phrase in our poem today. And she wrote, that sorrow ended, so might this. And J.R.R. Tolkien also took a shot at translating this poem. In that verse, he translated, and used in the Lord of the Rings. In fact, it became one of the major themes of the Lord of the Rings. He translated it, "Time has passed since then. This too can pass." See, that's the beauty of lament. It encourages us to view honestly what is happening. And when we view what is happening honestly, it changes us, it awakens us, it empowers us. Because, as James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Amen. Amen.